I'm a journalist. I've been a journalist for close to a decade, but I find it easier to produce content on other things and on other people and happenings in the society or the world than to speak about myself directly. Even though one of the reasons I went into journalism, one of the reasons I chose the field of journalism was because I wanted to improve on my self esteem as a child.
For in him we live, in him we move, in him we have our being. What you're looking for, that identity, will not come when you find your donkey. You want to discover yourself, you have to go into him. There is a journey into God. He said that is where you live, that is where you move. The entirety of your being is residing in there. So you're looking for what you're looking for outside. You're trying to find yourself outside. He said there's a journey into God. That is where you begin to discover you. In him, I live. In him, I move. In him, I have my being. If I want to discover me, I take a journey into him.
As a child growing up, I always watched Ellen DeGeneres with my family and Mwabudu interviewing people, and I just wanted to do exactly that. I appreciate the fact that they were able to give a voice to people in society, and I just wanted to do that. And I've spent the past decade of my career doing that, interviewing people, telling their stories.
I never knew Cristiano Ronaldo was the most paid athlete in the world. Well, that's good to know. Maybe one day we could get to share the money together. The Pan Atlantic University just admitted its 10th set of undergraduate students. Ray says the problem is getting so bad, she's moving out. Here at Morningside Park, community members are beating the heat outdoors. Here in the US, most Filipinos were born and raised in their home country.
I did have a blog when I was in undergrad, and I think that was the last time I really did write about myself. If anybody knows Her One Diary, any fans of Her One Diary who end up watching this, they will probably remember the fashion blog. But that period was perhaps the last time that I did any journalistic thing about myself. And lately, it's been 5 months. I've been out of a job for about 5 months now. I didn't think that it would take this long for me to get a job. I purposefully left my old job because I was burnt out. And I also really wanted Sundays off. But in the industry that we are in, it's somewhat of a privilege to have your weekends off for some particular fields. But I had done the roles that I was in for about 4 years and had to compromise on my Sundays. Anyway, that's a whole different story. I'm yet to know what this is going to turn into, honestly. I'm just sitting down in front of the camera and speaking because I know that if there's anything that I can do, it's produce content. And so I decided that, why don't I just try and begin something? But as the days go by, I end up just waking up in the morning, even though I have a plan for what I want to work on, say produce content for myself or about myself or for my personal brand. But I end up just applying to more and more jobs. This phase of my life has perhaps been, I think I've experienced the most rejections I've ever gotten in job applications. They've applied to roles that I am overqualified for, and I still did not get them. Those roles. So it's been a challenge. I've definitely gone through different phases, where I think to myself that, there are days where I feel completely useless. There are days where I feel very bored. There are days where I feel like even all these jobs I'm applying to, I don't really know how much interested I am in them. There have been jobs that I've applied to that I've been quite interested in and didn't get. And typically when I don't get any roles, I just move on, knowing that God wants something better for me. And it's been a roller coaster since I left my old job. I wanted time to think of the next step in my career. However, the smart thing that people do before leaving a job is to get a job and then leave. But I had been applying to jobs before leaving, and I did not get anything yet, but I was quite positive that I would get something. Um, okay, I need to decide what exactly I want this video to be about. Hmm. I guess the first thing I would like to talk about is that for the most part this year, prior to leaving my job, I had been a very studious Bible reader. And in recent times, I haven't been able to study the Bible as much as I typically would. And I remember calling my friend about a month ago and just telling her that I haven't been able to study as much. I've gone through a period of grief. And I think she then explained to me that, friend, you are grieving different aspects of your life and different things. Firstly, you're grieving the loss of a professor who didn't die a natural death. She died, it was a sad loss. And I'm grieving the loss of my job and the way certain conversations went when I was leaving that job, and grieving, I think, reflecting on that job now, I was also just grieving the loss of a routine, grieving the loss of a community, because they had been my primary community since moving to New York. After grad school, they were my primary community. I formed a bond with almost every single colleague. They were more or less a family to me. I enjoyed being able to, they were more or less my immediate friends that I saw on a regular basis. And so I've just been grieving the regularity of seeing them, the camaraderie of being able to chat, grab coffee very regularly. It was a constant in my week beyond, spending time in church with my friends and family in their homes. So grieving the loss of that, grieving the loss of an identity, because my identity, I realized, was very tied to my job. Not even in a negative way, but just realizing that transitioning into a new job, especially when I had worked 4 years on this job, I had been the voice of a newsletter. Wherever I went to, I introduced myself as a newsletter writer at this publication covering immigration. Given that I was the voice of this newsletter, my identity was very tied to that news product. And one form of grief I've been experiencing has been the loss of, I won't say it's the loss of that identity per se, but just not knowing what to make of that identity anymore. And in applying to several roles, it's been difficult to pitch myself as something else outside of that space and identity. And so I've been asking myself questions in regards to what next, even though I thought I knew what next. Anyway, when I was expressing the grief that I've been feeling to my friend, I just remember telling her that, I've not been able to study the word and pray as long as I usually do. I used to pray like very long hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I'm praying, worshiping, studying the Bible, and just in really deep intimacy with God. As the weeks went by, I just couldn't, do it on my own anymore. I just felt a sort of disconnect. And she told me that there are seasons where you're not able to do that, but it doesn't mean that you still can't pray. You still can't hold on to a word. Given the phase that I'm going through, I could just rely on a word or on a verse. Given the season that I am in, like it could be, she had said, Psalm 23, verse 1, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Well, for a while, the verse I've been holding on to, especially between yesterday and today, it's been Psalm 46:10. I believe, be still and know that I am God. And I've been holding on to that. I'm struggling to articulate myself and my feelings and my thoughts in the ways I find most presentable to do, and it's difficult for me. I feel like I'm speaking very slowly as I do this, but just do it is the mantra to begin this process. I got back from a gala today, an immigration gala. I think it's one of the first events I've been to since leaving my old job, and one of the first events in the immigration space. And it was good to be there. I think it was good to be reminded about the news product and how impactful it was for lots of people. Lots of people knew me from the news product, the newsletter, and it was reassuring to hear how helpful it was for them. One of the feelings that I've gotten since leaving my job is that despite how impactful it was for thousands of people who read the newsletter, finding it very impactful, and I've reached out to them to ask for assistance or referral for a job, I haven't gotten anything that's substantial or anything to the degree that I thought I would in regards to the quantity or the number of people that responded to some of the emails that I sent. So I ask myself how, and I know that's just coming from a place of, I don't know if it's bitterness or just anger, or I guess it's part of the grieving process and the process of just processing the happenings of the past few months, given I've been out of a job. And it's not a feeling that I would like to have. I'd rather want to always approach things from a place of humility than anger or any form of bitterness. However, it was lovely to hear people talk about the news product and approach me to talk about the newsletter. It was also really nice to go there with one of my friends from church as well and hear her affirm to me that it was nice to be in a space where people could speak about the impact of my work. I appreciated going there. And I think because I'm still dressed from that event, I decided why not just begin this video production. I don't know what this is going to lead to, but we'll see by the time I put it out what it leads to. And thank you for listening. I guess for those who don't know, my name is Fisayo Kari. I live in New York City. I moved to New York about 5 years ago. I'm a journalist and a writer and a storyteller and a producer and a friend and a daughter and a disciple, a woman and a person. I'm human. I am God's child. I'm me. I'm confident. I'm beautiful. I am strong. I am brilliant. I'm intelligent. I am a powerful young woman. I am loved. I am making progress.